Hi, girlies. How you doing? All the girlies are here. Hi, Rennie. Hi, Fanta. Jacey is here. So Jacey has had a run of what I consider to be coccidia. Not consider, what I know. So I talk about it in an upcoming video while I'm grooming her. So, future you, as you're watching a grooming video of Jacey, may hear about her having diarrhea. But boy, she gave us a little bit of a scare. Jacey's not young. She's 9. So she's certainly, getting there. We hope to have her for many, many, many more years. And she's robust and healthy. You're funny. But she gave us a bit of a scare, right? So she had diarrhea, which is not uncommon in summer and spring. In spring, it's usually the conversion from hay to pasture forage. They get very excited. They eat a little bit more than they should, and they get tummy aches. And that happens. And we have kind of this, what I call Pepto-Bismol type medication. Takes care of it, right? Everybody's good. And so, when she got diarrhea, it was like, all right, you foraged too much, you ate a little too much, you had an upset tummy, and they generally self-regulate that pretty well. So we gave her some Pepto. That's not what I gave her, right? It's actually a medication specifically for scours. However, it's pink and it treats tummy upset, so it's Pepto. But no, I'm not giving our goats Pepto-Bismol. Okay. So that didn't, so you go like another 48 hours, right? And typically by then, other than having some remnants showing up on their body, right? Because their hair catches it, which is always fun. And that's why you'll see a grooming video about it, because I have to wash their bums. Other than that, it's generally gone. 48 hours maximum, usually 24. Hers wasn't. Okay, well, we'll treat you again and stop being stupid. She's a little stubborn, so, stop eating if you don't feel well. But another 48 hours went by. So now we're at like 4 days, and it wasn't constant diarrhea, but it was certainly more than I like. Let's put it that way. So immediately run a fecal. That is the next step, right? And I probably waited a day too long because 72 hours was more than sufficient. But she's such a robust goat. She's got such a healthy body condition. She's always been solid. She has never had a problem with parasite loads. Even when I run fecals on her, she's like, even if the other goats have worms, she is always clear. She's just got a constitution, of a battleship, right? So I went ahead and ran a fecal, and as expected, I didn't find any worm eggs. I didn't find any nasties, any bad things like barber pole or other terrible worms that you want to get ahead of ASAP. What I did find was a higher than normal load of coccidia. Not off the charts, just higher than normal. And that is enough. So goats, they have coccidia in their system sort of all the time, right? And as long as it's in balance and check, you don't worry about it. It's not really an adult animal issue, right? It's more about the young and the elderly. And, it can absolutely kill a young goat. It can absolutely kill an elderly goat. Actually, it can absolutely kill an adult goat if it gets out of control. So once I saw that, I instantly switched to a coccidia treatment. And one treatment, boom, she's done. We will treat her again a second time. So you kind of treat them, wait 2 weeks and treat again. You don't want to over-treat for any of these parasites, because if you over-treat, right, like, so let's say I treated every 3 days or something, you end up creating medication-resistant or chemical-resistant parasites, right? And we have that problem with a lot of our intestinal worms. They're medication-resistant. They are not... you have to use multiple medications now instead of just one. Because over the years, the way this works, right, is you treat an animal and it's never going to kill every parasite they have, right? But you kill off a good portion of them. So let's say you kill 90% of them and there's 10% left. Well, those 10% were strong enough to survive the chemical treatment. And now those are the 10% that are going to make more babies and make more parasites. And they're going to pass that genetic strength against that chemical treatment to their offspring, which defeats the purpose of having a chemical treatment. And I'm simplifying, right? No, it doesn't happen that fast. I'm simplifying the example for purposes of illustration. So, if you extrapolate that out and you say, okay, well, only 10% of the population has this resistance. Yeah, but then if I treat again, and let's say I do that very quickly, right? So I have 10% left, and 2 days later I treat again. And another half of those fall off, right? So now I have this really small population that has survived 2 chemical treatments. And now they're the only ones remaining in the environment to produce or reproduce. How do you think your chemical treatment is going to work a year from now, 2 years from now, right? So the reason I wait 2 weeks is because the life cycle of these parasites are typically in and around there, right? So from egg to full adult. So if you wait 2 weeks, what you're really waiting to happen, because the chemical treatments do not generally treat eggs. They treat the adult worm or the adult parasite. So by waiting 2 weeks, you've let that life cycle play out. Anything that may have survived the chemical treatment is sort of done, right? They've moved on because their lifespan has moved on, and their genetics have been diluted with the rest of the eggs that were laid by non-chemical resistant parasites hatching and starting to grow. And this all sounds a little gross, but it almost makes sense when you think about it that way, right? So a whole bunch of worms, yucky worms, lay a whole bunch of eggs. You give a chemical treatment, most of those worms die. Those eggs are still fine, but they were laid by parasites that were can be killed by the chemical. The few remaining adult parasites, they're chemical resistant and they may lay some eggs too, but they die off. They're not alone in their environment to continue to breed. Now those eggs that had been laid have matured into adult larvae or adult worms, and they're the kind that can be chemically treated. So now you're back to a normal population of parasites that can be treated, that can be managed, that can be maintained. And that second treatment done at that 2-week moment is timed so that those eggs have hatched and matured to the point that they can be treated by the chemical, but have not matured to the point that they're reproducing and laying more eggs. And it's a very specific timeline, and you sort of have to be, calendar driven when you do it, but that is the purpose. And that is why English, man. That is why I don't treat my goats on a consistent, regular basis. It is not wrong to do it. If you have a huge herd, I don't think you have any other way to manage parasites and just treat everybody on a regular rotation, because you can't be checking on everybody every day. I'm going to try and motor in on a bird while we're talking here. There he is. It's our same little catbird that we caught the last time. I guess he likes that fence post. Okay. I caught my eye. I couldn't tell what it was, so I thought we'd check it out. So anyway, if you have a huge herd, you have to do rotational worming because you can't monitor every animal. I have the ability in my tiny herd to monitor every animal, so I do not worm on a regular basis. I do not treat my animals with chemical wormers or parasite treatment other than external parasites, and we can talk about that later. on a regular basis. I do it on an as needed basis, and I do it based on what I see clinically. And by that, I mean, do I see their body condition off? Do I see them holding themselves differently? Do I see them have diarrhea? Do I see their weight has dropped a pound, you know, like a little bit, right? We're not talking about getting emaciated. We're talking about, did your weight drop a little bit where I don't like, you know, I can suddenly see a little curvature that I couldn't see before. And you have to know your animals that way. There's also a way to check their mucous membrane, so that's the inside of their eyelids, to see if they're becoming anemic. And we certainly, you know, can do that, but I would hope to catch it before it gets to that point, right? If they're already anemic, that means these parasites are draining from them, and I don't want that. So I don't treat on a regular basis to prevent resistance, and that means when I do need to treat, my treatment is generally effective, and that's exactly what happened with Jacey. Is she was able to, you know, one coccidia treatment, once we identified that was the problem, got her cleared right up. She will get a second follow-up dose, again at that specific 2-week mark, just to make sure. But I only moved to that after confirming through a true fecal diagnosis, not just based on gut feel. Right? I wanted to know what I was treating, which chemical was the appropriate chemical to use. And because of that, it was very effective, and she's back to normal. She doesn't know that she needs another dose of medication coming up, but she does. And she'll get over it, and it's just an oral medication. So I am going to leave it there. I know I've talked parasites forever, and it probably grossed a whole bunch of people out. I will talk about external parasites a little bit later on. We treat differently for that. Think of that more as like your flea and tick treatment. They don't get fleas and ticks, but they do get other things. They can get lice, they can get other external parasites. So that is a different strategy than internal parasites. This was all about internal parasites. All right. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and that you're parasite free. And look at that cloud cover over there. It's just bright blue, beautiful. The rain has cleared things up. Everything is lush and green. It's the best time of the year, isn't it? Other than it's hot and humid. But that's pretty much a guarantee in New Jersey at this time. All right, y'all. Until next time, there's work to be done. Bye for now.